Yes! I killed them! I killed them! You hear me? I did it! I shouted, leaning back in my chair at the table. I've been playing Pubg for an hour now, and I even lost track of time. My back and my arms hurt, and I probably haven't eaten anything the whole day. Then my mom entered the room. She looked at me with disappointment and said, "You played all night again?" Which I heard every day. She opened the curtains and the sunlight blinded my eyes. "I'm so tired of your games," she said, and left the room. I opened the window to get some fresh air, changed, and went to have breakfast at lunchtime. Hi everyone, my name is Bobby, and as you may have already guessed, I love playing Pubg. Yes, I love this game, and love its graphics and also the fact that I'm a great player. I gathered everyone I knew in my team, and most of them are my friends in real life as well. But I just love to play with them online. No, it doesn't bother me at all that I spend a lot of time on my phone playing games. My parents, like many, are against it. Mom often gets mad at me. They've done everything to stop me. Turn off the internet, take away my phones, but I still found a way to play. And it got to the point at once, I even stole someone's phone just to play because mine was taken away by my father. And then, one day, I really did get on my mom's nerves. One day I woke up at lunchtime, as usual, because I was playing all night. I got dressed, washed my face, and went to breakfast. But my parents were nowhere to be found. It was strange. They never went anywhere on Saturdays. Usually on this day they were home. My mom doing cleaning and dad being in the garage. I ate whatever was found in the empty fridge, which also wasn't typical of my parents. After breakfast, I wanted to go to my room to continue playing. But as soon as I entered the room, I noticed that the curtains were closed. It was dark. It was strange because I left the window open. I lay down on the bed and screamed in surprise when I saw a figure. "Dad, you scared me!" He stood in front of me in a shirt, trousers, mask, and held a weapon in front of me. "I found him. I'll kill him now," he said to someone in a microphone. It looked like some kind of a bad joke. I said, "Dad, this is not funny. That's enough of joking." But he spoke in such a cold voice. I've never heard him speak like that. "So I got to you. Finally, I got a chance to shoot you." And he pulled the trigger. I'd seen that weapon before. My dad's colleague gave it to him. I knew it was real and my heart skipped a couple of beats. I wanted to laugh, and at the same time, I've never been more afraid. I couldn't move. I was afraid even to breathe. "Is this a dream?" I asked aloud, but my father just turned his head and aimed at me again. "Dad, it's me, your son," I shouted and realized that my father had gone mad. He wanted to kill me. I threw a pillow at him. At that moment, the gun fired to the side. I screamed at the sound and ran downstairs. I ran into my mom's bedroom, but she was not there. I ran out onto the street and ran to the garage. My father followed me. My hands were shaking. My throat was dry. I needed to get to the phone and call the police, but the phone was in the kitchen. While my father was making his way into the garage, the door of which I had blocked up with chairs, I got out through another corridor and ran towards the kitchen, where I managed to grab the phone. With trembling hands, I dialed 3 short numbers, 911, and did not even get to hear the dial. I could feel somebody's presence from behind. My mom stood there, holding a knife in her hand and a cut-off phone line. I turned to her with horror in my eyes and did not have time to figure out anything when she said, "I found him. He is in the kitchen." Mom took another pistol out of her back pocket and aimed it straight at my forehead, my legs shaking. "Mom, it's me, your son. It's me. What's wrong?" I begged, but she glanced at me so indifferently and said that now I was only an enemy on the battlefield, and also pulled the trigger. At that moment, someone rang the doorbell, and she turned her head towards the door. I managed to run through the back entrance into the yard. Our neighbor came for a visit, and I saw how my mom immediately pulled out her pistol and fired the weapon right in the face of Mrs. Hill. "Oh God!" I yelled. "Oh no, this is all a total nightmare. She killed her. She killed our neighbor. What is going on?" I thought, almost hysterical. I ran towards my school. I wanted to hide there, and then I saw how her and my dad agreed on something. And Dad walked in my direction, and Mom went in the direction of other neighbors. While I was running away, I heard a couple more shots, and then people screamed. I began to choke. Will this nightmare ever end? I ran in the direction of the school and was totally out of breath when I suddenly hear a deafening roar of a car engine behind my back. Oh no. I turned around and saw my dad's car driving at me with great speed, and behind the wheel was him. I even thought for a second that I was going insane, but it was all too real. I started running through the back streets, behind the buildings, hiding in the bushes, behind the trees, but he was catching up with me. He seemed to see right through me. And when I almost reached the school, I heard my mother's voice, "Come on!" She shouted to my dad to go faster, but I managed to run inside. There was no one in the building. It was quiet like in a morgue. I tiptoed along the corridors and hid in all the different spots. I heard them come in and how fast they were moving, and one always reloaded the gun. It was my mom. I was sure when I was walking in one hallway, they saw me and shouted, "There he is!" They ran after me, and I rushed to the school gym with all my might. It was on the second floor where the lockers were you couldn't hide. When I managed to get to my destination, I quietly opened a locker and hid inside. My parents were there. They moved quietly, holding their weapons tightly in their hands. They looked around and then Mom started looking at the lockers. Dad did the same thing and the bullets were approaching me. And then I just began to cry. I didn't want to die. Why did my parents go crazy like that? I opened the locker when its turn came and cried. I fell on my knees and began to beg for mercy. I apologized for playing a lot and for not listening to my parents, skipping school for the sake of the game, and just for everything, and asked not to kill me. Please, I beg you. Bobby, open your eyes, Mom said, but I kept crying, still begging for forgiveness. Bobby, get up, my mom shouted, and I opened my eyes. I was in bed. The windows were open and the curtains left in sunlight. Mom said her usual phrase, "Play it again all night?" And at that moment, I realized everything, jumped out of bed and ran to my mom. It was a dream? It was a dream! Yes, yes, I yelled nonstop. My mom looked at me in surprise and twisted her finger at my temple. Mom, I won't be playing anymore. I had such a bad dream. You won't believe it. I'm so hungry. Where is my breakfast? I asked, and my mother gestured towards the kitchen. I came down joyful and saw my dad. He was eating and reading the news. I hugged him and said, "Good morning." Surprised, Dad asked, "Did you win the game again?" But I said that it was over. I had a terrible dream. Dad smiled and poured me tea. Then he went to get ready for work. When he left, I finished my meal and decided to put the dishes behind me. A fork fell to the floor. I bent down to pick it up and saw my dad's mask from the game under the table. If you liked the story, then give it a thumbs up and write us down some comments. And don't forget to subscribe.
Hi, I'm Adele. I had many adventures in my life, but what I went through the last time just blows my mind. Despite the fact that I'm officially a difficult teenager, I managed to do a good thing, which is very significant. Perhaps I will ask you now, would you dare to go against a whole conspiracy of big people almost alone? Well, I will tell you how I managed to do it. I don't have a dad. My mom never really wanted to talk about him. She always changed the topic. In the end, I just stopped asking about him all completely. Mom and I were alone, and she often disappeared at work. So I kind of belonged to myself most of the time. That's why I always got up to something. My mom's patience was on edge and her anxiety was always high, but I could not stop. This image of a hooligan was helpful to me because I was not bothered by either kids or adults. Everyone tried to avoid me. I had a small circle of friends where I was accepted as myself, which I liked. It was better than coming home in the evenings and seeing my mom's disappointed face. We never really spoke because she was always tired. Sometimes she drank and I did not want to go home at all. And as for my friends, we made our own entertainment. Most of all, I loved to run away from cops or scare younger kids. Usually, instead of classes, we gathered at our usual place, which was on the outskirts of our area. It was not really crowded, but on the other hand, we could mess things up, turn trash cans upside down, or draw on the walls. And as soon as we noticed an interesting person, usually a lost teenager, I immediately came up with a plan in my head. Usually, we got into a row and walked slowly towards them. Do you know how funny it was to look at their face? And then the closer we got, the more we could see the silhouette going from side to side, not knowing how to avoid us. I bet at that moment, everything inside them twisted with horror. Have I ever felt ashamed of myself? Well, probably yes, but I've never told anyone about this. For what? The world is ruthless, and I'm not capable of doing good things. Let the volunteers do it. And then things got worse. My mom got a boyfriend. Honestly, I did not know if he was a boyfriend or a drinking companion because they began to drink together every day. The environment was so tough that I almost never came home. Every time I saw his face, I wanted to do even more bad things. He always saw my teachers come to our house to report on me, and then he advised my mom to put me to a private school for difficult teenagers. I couldn't believe that he thought of such thing, and you know what? My mom agreed. Oh, how angry I was. I screamed so much, even cried, but she did not listen to me and applied. I was immediately accepted, probably because of my appearance, beaten nails, black outfits, and my trademark grin. The first day at school was like a prison. Yes, I know how it feels there because I was there as well. I knew that I needed to establish my authority, otherwise I would always be hungry, sleep in the worst bed, and give up things to another boss. I did not want to, and then I met her. I immediately realized that she ruled everything there. Her name was B, which means a lifelong traveler. It was funny. As soon as the caretakers left, B came up to me followed by some other friends. It should have been a sight. We chose a place farther away so that no noise could be heard and stood there ready to fight. B challenged me to a fight for authority, and it was intense. It's good that I had experience in this matter. We fought for about 5 minutes and we got pretty exhausted, but neither her or me wanted to back down. In the end, people recognized the fight as a draw on both sides, and we shook hands. This meant that we would divide our authority in half. She did not like it, and neither did I, but we recognized each other as worthy opponents. We were to sleep in one room with 2 more girls. The boys' building was separate. I quickly got used to the situation. It was actually not new to me. B told me everything about how the school works. She said that for bad behavior, the caretakers send the kids to the hospital. So the most terrifying thing is that no one came back from there. So everyone is afraid to go there and they try to behave. But still, at least 2 times a month, 1 child is taken away and then 3 new ones come in return. All the staff looked like they were working at a slaughterhouse and we were the cattle. One day, a girl was taken from our room. We honestly could not understand at all what she was doing with us because she was so quiet. She said that her aunt had sent her here and she had no parents. It is not clear why they took her here at all because she's like the dandelion, all fluffy and beautiful. The staff came for her saying that she was behaving badly and took her away. I will never forget her cry for help. A week later, another girl was taken from the next room, and then it was B's turn. It was so unfair because we did not break any rules. We were not even scolded once. After B was taken away, I went to the principal's office to talk. Accidentally, I witnessed her telephone conversation. B's trade is on her way to you. Take her, she said and hung up. I immediately entered the office and showered her with questions, but she told me that if I did not want to be sent away, I should be silent. When I left the office, I noticed B's bracelet on the table. It seemed suspicious because she never took it off. At night, after lights out, I sneaked in there again. The door was locked, but I knew which of the staff had a spare key. Mrs. Merrill just loved sleeping during her shift, and this was not an opportunity to be missed. I crept to the caretaker, took her keys out of her pocket, and then went into the office. As soon as I got there, I bent down to open the lock, and someone touched my shoulder. I turned with fright, and there was a girl from our room. I frantically thought of some excuses, but she told me that she knew where B was. Mia nodded her head towards the door. I opened it with a key and ran inside. I closed the door from the inside, and Mia ran to the cabinet with documents. She took out a folder from there and gave it to me. I took the bracelet from the table and put it on myself. Mia said that this folder contained all the information, but I needed to promise that I would go to the very end. You need to find this place and make it there before they're all taken far away, she said. I opened my mouth to ask questions, but Mia interrupted me. She said that she might not be here tomorrow. I know everything because my mother left me here, and my mother is the principal, she said. My head went crazy hearing this. I had even more questions, but there was no time to talk. I grabbed the folder and ran away. I heard the noise. The guards ran into the office, but Mia stayed where she was. I hid in the closet and skimmed through the documents. There were photos of all the kids at school who were supposedly being treated. Among them was B. Different addresses were written everywhere, and in the end, I found a purchase and sale agreement. As you understand, we were the ones for sale. Oh no, the headmistress is selling us, I said, and the pantry door opened. A guard with a flashlight was looking at me. I pushed him, tore out the paper with the address of the bee, and ran as fast as I could. The doors were closing, an alarm was on, and I managed to run into the dining room, where I saw an open window. I flew through it and fell into the backyard, where the guards were already looking around. Barefoot, I ran over the fence and started looking for the address. In short, it took me 2 days of search. I ate and slept wherever I had to, but I tried to avoid people, not to arouse any suspicion. I was dirty in my torn uniform with a number on my chest. Finally, I found that building. It looked like a hospital. I managed to get there through the pipes. It's good that I was thin. I ran past the office with Bee by chance. She was tied to a table. People in white masks and gloves were walking around her. One of them tried to inject her with something, and at that moment, I fell right on top of him with a crash. People screamed, and I threw their own tools at them, cut Bee's straps with a scalpel, and then freed her. We ran with all our might. We had to hide. They were looking for us all over the building, but it was lucky that there were no guards there, only those people in masks. We ran out into the street and ran into a random direction. We managed to hide in the forest on a tree. Bee cried when I gave her the bracelet. She said that it was the last thing that she got from her mom, and the rest was taken by her stepdad, who put her in that damn school. They tried to sell me for organs or something, she said. I nodded my head and said it was principal's business. We discussed the plan with B. We could not take risks because we had one attempt and we had no friends, but now we had a lot of enemies. We came a long way and found the biggest newspaper in the area and walked in there with our fingers crossed. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up and write us some comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe.